Now, tributes are continuing to be paid to Jimmy Cliff, the singer often credited with first bringing Jamaica's reggae and ska music to a global audience. Jimmy Cliff has died at the age of 81. He was known for a string of hits in the 1960s and 70s, including The Harder They Come, the title of a film in which he also starred. Jamaica's Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, called him a true culture giant whose music carried the heart of the Jamaican nation to the world. Jimmy Cliff worked with a range of international artists and was awarded Jamaica's highest honor, the Order of Merit, in 2003. We'll talk more about him in a moment, but first, here is the award-winning public elementary school choir known as PS22 Chorus from Staten Island in New York City, paying tribute to Jimmy Cliff with an inspirational and stirring performance of his hit song, Struggling Man. Lovely, isn't it? Well, for more on the life and times of Jimmy Cliff, I'm joined now in the studio by Ambassador Wallace Williams, who represents several Caribbean island nations here in Nigeria, including Antigua and Barbuda. And he's also a respected musician in his own right with towering musical pedigree. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you.
And is it fair to say that there are millions around the world, including here in Nigeria, who has been inspired by his music, and you are one of them?
Yeah, absolutely. When Jimmy Cliff came out in the Caribbean, I was in Trinidad at the time, the vocals and the music.
His voice.
What
a remarkable
was just
voice.
Ecstatic, because you wondered whether he was gospel, whether he was soul, whether he was truly reggae, whether he was mento, which is the sort of calypso Jamaican genre that we had at the time, because he was just phenomenal. And you couldn't then even place him in a musical category because he sang a range of songs, only that he carried the reggae form because he came from the ghettos, of Kingston, and therefore he pushed more of that because that is what was going at the time. But as an artist, if you analyze him, he didn't want to be put into a box.
So an incredible range.
Incredible range.
And his career, his career stretches back decades, doesn't it? I mean, he became a performer, from what I read, at a very young age. Apparently, he went on stage as early as 6.
6, 7.
And as a performer in the church, I think.
Yes.
I guess it is also important, Ambassador, to remember that his career took off and was at a peak before Bob Marley.
Yes.
So in that regard, he was instrumental in taking reggae music and ska around the world, and was in fact, it's fair to describe him as a formidable pioneer of Jamaican music.
I think he should be given credit for pioneering reggae music and Jamaica, because he was a tourist icon. By the time he did The Harder They Come, I know from statistics that a lot of people wanted to visit Jamaica after that. I mean, of course, Bob Marley and the others did that too, subsequently. But he pioneered it. He made, apart from Harry Belafonte, he made Jamaica always be in the eyes of tourists wanting to go and find out what is fascinating about this place that could produce outside of the realm of musicians which were stereotyped in the US and the UK, for him to break through, because he was what I will call a breakthrough artist.
He became mainstream.
He became mainstream. And it was very unusual at that point in time to have someone at that era of music, where rock and roll, where soul, where jazz,
And almost the radio stations were almost segregated, weren't
yes,
they?
and they were segregated, but yet he became an acceptable voice and an acceptable face in the music world.
And it's very interesting that in spite of all that stuff that you were talking about just now, and the obvious segregation and all the rest of it, but the fact that he crossed over into the mainstream, he was still a campaigner, wasn't he? A lot of people remember his song Vietnam,
yes,
which was a campaign song against that terrible war. I mean, talk to us a little bit about his political ideas. I wonder how much he was rooted in sort of geopolitics and global affairs.
No, that is to show you the character of the man. He was a messenger, one of the first messengers, I would say, on the ills of society, and not a great. You could say he was a die-in-the-world Black Panther without belonging to the organization. He was a die-in-the-world anti-apartheid. He was a die-in-the-world, anti-war. So he was an epitome of what it took to stand up against injustice and the world at large. And that is why, when you look at the film that he actually starred in, it was all about injustice and, the impoverishing of, the African man, the black man, the ghetto.
Now that you've brought it up, let me come to that, because I was going to ask you, what about the black African diaspora? I mean, whether he had a message regarding Africa, because he was certainly popular in Africa, and he performed in South Africa, and as you said, campaigned against apartheid as well. And then he visited Nigeria in the 70s, though I understand that Nigerian visit wasn't a very pleasant experience for him. Because I think they locked him up in Nigeria.
Well, because he is an outspoken person. Now, when you listen to some of his songs, as you said there, inspirational. I think you played it yesterday. Many rivers to cross.
Yeah, lovely, isn't it? Absolute masterpiece.
Brilliant. Absolute masterpiece. And when you listen to some of his other songs, you felt the depth of his soul and the depth of his true feeling about things that were happening not just in his country. So he was geopolitically one of the first few to stand up, apart from the Beatles, to stand up and sing about, the ills of society, the injustices. And it was not just, as you now said, it was not just about anti-apartheid and the Africans on the continent, but he was also talking about Vietnam. And so, because don't forget, most people said that the African-American soldiers were the ones they used as buffer to go out and be killed.
They were the shields.
They were the shield. They were the human shield. So he indirectly was singing about that as well too. And then, of course, on the continent, he was very, very passionate about what was happening on the continent.
And I know that you yourself, I mean, before you kind of transited into international diplomacy and all the rest of it, and sort of ambassadorial roles. I mean, you were a musician.
Yes,
and you played with some of the best of them, like Hot Chocolate and all the rest of them.
Absolutely.
And you met him, didn't you?
Yes, I did. In Trinidad. He came to do a concert in Trinidad. I remember he came in the night and we met backstage and we talked. And that's how I also know about his true feelings. He was not concerned about stardom. I mean, I can say that because I met with him. And
he was a regular bloke, was he?
He was a regular bloke, but he was very conscious. That's the word. He was very conscious. So a lot of things were bothering him, and he was bringing it out like most messengers.
But I understand he was also very sort of gregarious, fun-loving, engaging, and very spirited.
Oh yes. He had that high spirit. He could make jokes, and he could be a regular guy. But deep down, he had a consciousness that radiated it came out also in his music. It came out in how he said what he said. He didn't give a damn whose ox was gored when he wanted to say something. But take away all of that, he was just like most of us, you know, regular musicians. You have fun, you take care of your friends around you.
Absolutely.
And you hang out, you know, he was that kind of guy.
I mean, I understand he obviously fell sick recently, but do we know how he actually died?
Well, they said it was like a creeping pneumonia.
Okay,
And
right.
one thing I'm happy about is that he came back to Africa and found his place of rest in Africa. I mean, I just came back from Ouagadougou, and we were there at a conference.
That's Ouagadougou in Mali.
In
Burkina Faso, yeah, Burkina Faso. Sorry.
And I don't know if it's the Sahara dust, but I think about 30% of the people who were there came down with that sort of respiratory
You've got a bit of a
tract.
cold yourself.
I had.
Right.
Yeah. You know, so so I'm hoping it is not that, but they said he had, you know, something like a creeping pneumonia, you know. So I don't know if it is his travels within Africa or what caused it.
Well,
but
that's
that's
very
what
unfortunate.
I heard. It is.
Well, I mean, as you pay tribute to him, Ambassador Williams, let me ask you this. If you could pick your favorite Jimmy Cliff song, which one would it be and why?
The harder they come.
Well, that's a classic.
Yeah, I think it told the story of life in Jamaica, a true life and the true sort of ghetto culture, and he absolutely displayed it, and it shows his other talent, acting. He actually displayed it in the way it should be displayed as a truism of Jamaican culture at the time and still ongoing.
Well, let's take a listen to that. Crank it up.
Yeah.
Jimmy Cliff with his absolutely brilliant rendition of The Harder They Come. Ambassador, I want to thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Ambassador Wallace Williams represents several Caribbean island nations, including Antigua and Barbuda, and is also a respected musician, paying his tribute there to Jimmy Cliff, who has died at the age of 81.